Howdy y'all, Atlas Ward here. I used to sabotage my relationships for over 10 years. Now happily married, have several really strong good friendships, and I'm at more peace and happier than ever I've been able to be in my life. So now let's go ahead and get right into this next episode of Reddit Stories. Self-sabotage or self-protection. 23 female is someone whose giving nature has been taken advantage of more times than I could count, plus someone who struggles with rejection, sensitive dysphoria. Dating as a woman is a fucking nightmare. For those who don't know, rejection sensitive dysphoria is or RSD is an extreme emotional response to real or perceived rejection, criticism, or failure. It involves sudden, overwhelming emotional pain that often feels disproportionate to the trigger. This immediately makes me think of borderline personality disorder, how one of its criteria is that people have disproportionate responses to things. I wonder if this is more of maybe a potential like trauma thing. I'm not a medical expert by any means. I have just seen that disproportionate responses seems to be a thing I see quite often. I know that is something I have personally done, had really strong disproportionate triggers, disproportionate responses to triggers, and it's just can be very overwhelming. I don't have any medical diagnoses as far as I know. Don't know if this is a diagnosed case. Either way, I'm not a medical expert, so I'm not going to engage with that. Just a observation that I've made. I am unwilling to let a man have access to me that they no longer deserve, or to wait for them to magically start acting like they used to. I've learned that if a man truly wants you, he will do the things. I hate that sentence with a bloody passion. I'll never. I understand the idea of if someone wants to be a good partner, they'll do it. The problem is that your idea of a good partner is going to, on some level, be different from the way they naturally are a partner. So, for example, let's say I have a person that particularly likes getting flowers. I'm not married to a woman that likes getting flowers. But let's say I was. Me getting flowers is just not something I normally do. And she could have this mindset of if he loved me, he would just get me flowers. And that wouldn't naturally come to mind for me because that's just not the kind of person I am. And I'm just naturally I don't care. I just don't care about that stuff. I would have to go out of my way to do that. And it would feel a little silly to me, but I would do that because I love the person and because that's important to them. But I think a big issue here is this. It removes any responsibility of communicating what you want or need. I don't need to communicate what I want or need because if the other person was good enough, they would just know what I need and give it to me. And that is a fatalistic, fundamental problem in relationships. I could come from male, female, whatever side, whoever, of if they were just good enough, they would just do the thing. And that's not the case. That's bullshit. Consistently not putting effort in is a clear sign he no longer prioritizes you. Probably true. Could be other circumstances, but I've been on dates with 6 different men in the last 7 months, genuinely looking for connection. Instead, I was left with this lesson, so now I don't hesitate to respectfully, mostly, cut things off with men who show me that they no longer value getting to know me. It makes me wonder what is happening in these relationships then, or in these dates. What is going on with you that you don't feel like they're trying to get to know you? What is actually happening? Why are you feeling unfulfilled? But it gets really frustrating because right now I'm talking to someone who seems to genuinely have the right intentions, but my mind can't help but wonder if I'm accidentally giving him too much or he'll stop following me, or that because he's not boldly flirting with me, he doesn't actually like me. Part of that is because I've been love bombed a good amount, and I guess steady is familiar, unfamiliar, and unfamiliar is scary. Good observation. But my main fear revolves around giving too much, and then I want to pull away because don't want him to also start taking me for granted. I don't do it, but I'm tired of the cycle. So this, I think, starts to beg the question for me: is what is too much in this context? What is it? What does it mean to give too much? I think it is very reasonable to want relationships that are reciprocal, where you give and take. We don't want to give too much and then not get anything back. And I have a feeling that if I ask this person, well, what is too much? I would not get a clear response. The problem with something arbitrary like I'm worried about giving too much is if you can't define it, your standard is invisible. It's arbitrary. So if you're worried about doing too much for this person, at what point does it become too much for you? And why? Now, I think it's important to. I think that for good relationships, you want to give a little more. You want to be a little more giving. And that can absolutely be tiresome, especially if you've gone on so many dates, 6 dates in 7 months with like different people, that you're trying to keep giving, and you're just kind of feeling burnt out from it. I think if you undergive, that is like if you undergive, you're showing you're not really invested or interested in this relationship. She was able to acknowledge that other people are doing the same thing. If you're kind of matching, that becomes a tit for tat thing, and that might work. But it's been my experience that the best, healthiest, thriving relationships, you're kind of trying to outgive each other. And you might say, well, this is too early. We're in the talking stage. This is like the first few dates. Sure, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just figure out like what is your standard. Give a little more than that, and see what they do. Do they reciprocate? Do they not? I'm wondering if. Let me think about this. She also mentions that if he's not boldly flirting with me, he doesn't actually like me. And I think for this person, for her idea of like this person is attracted to me might be. I mean, I don't know what her idea of flirting is. If it's just like straight into like sexual advances or something that's a little more, I guess, classy but still like flirty, but like aggressively flirty. It's hard to tell what she means by this. But yeah, that she has this standard already in her head of this person only really cares about me if they flirt heavily, aka I feel like they care if I feel cute butterflies and I feel all sweet and I've got all this attention coming to me and now I feel valued. And it feels like basing a relationship or value based on this like peak and highlight, because that is going to stop at some point. Like it's not always going to be just like constantly flirting. So when this stops, then where does the value come from? Well, the value then comes from how they treat me at more baseline, like in a normal, casual day to day way. Great, use that as your baseline. The flirting can be extra. The flirting can be great. Find out what you really expect at a baseline level. It doesn't have to be bare minimum, but baseline level of like what would you want to see and expect in like a day-to-day interaction that just feels good and safe and healthy. Someone that's just doing nothing but flirting with you is absolutely not it. Moving on. The lack of love bombing is good, but honestly, I feel like I need some reassurance from him, like an occasional flirt or something. But at the same time, we've only been talking for like 3 weeks, so it feels too early to bring up, like, I don't want to set expectations with the guy before even anything serious. Big reason why I think he's not much of a flirter is because he hasn't had any serious relationships in the past, so I'm trying to give him some grace. Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like for her, this person's idea of someone is interested in me or cares about me is very intense and probably sexualized. And without that, they're like, I don't know if this person's actually interested in me or actually cares about me. And that could lead to problems if that is your foundation for knowing if someone cares about you or not. Especially because that's what the reassurance is, right? The reassurance here is, does this person like me? Does this person care about me? I can know that by the way they're flirting, by how much they're flirting. But again, that's just the highlight. That's a highlight reel. Your life is not going to be a highlight reel unless you want it to just be a whole bunch of love bombing and it's just like almost performative at this point. Again, loving can absolutely exist, should exist in a healthy, good relationship. But if that is your signal of, is the relationship healthy, am I safe in it, then you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. Honestly, I know this will probably improve with time, but I need to get it out rather than let it circle in my head. And he's attentive and consistent. I think the lack of experience really just nerfed him. I really don't want to teach him how to be my boyfriend, but nobody's perfect. FR for real. And he seems like he picks up quick, I guess. TBH? I don't know yet. We'll have to see. I'm just scared to open up about my fears because the last guy did that, switched up on me really quick, left that shortly in the dust. I can't be bothered to read this TLDR and all this shouty this, shouty that. This is also that idea as well. I don't want to have to teach him how to be my boyfriend, but you will have to. Part of part of having he can know how to generally be a boyfriend to a general woman. He can know to generally be flirty or generally be give you flowers or whatever the hell the thing is. But if you want a person to love you in a very specific way because you are specifically you, if you want them to love you uniquely in your specific way that you need, you have to teach the person what you need and what you want. How else would they know? When I met my wife, I did not just know the things that she wanted or liked or needed as a person. That came out through talking about it, through conversation. It came out through me trying to understand her so I know how to love her. So this just really begs the question, like, what does it mean to teach someone how to be a boyfriend? Like, again, we're talking about like generalized behaviors and like learning about you specifically, and there might be some merit to, sure, you might not want to teach a person how to do certain things, fine, but you're going to have to teach them something. No one is going to be able to walk in your life at any point and be like, I know exactly how to love this person. I know how to handle them when we're having hard conversations. I know how to resolve conflict with them in a way that is healthy. I know, when they're pushing away, I know how to respond perfectly to that if they like need space. I'll just know to give them the space or actually confront them because that's what they want or need. Things like that will not just come naturally. I think it is a very naive expectation that the right person will just walk into our life and just know how to treat us because social media tells us that's how it goes, or we've learned from like our parents. Our parents just kind of, I'll say, knew what we wanted or needed for the most part. But this idea, that's the idea of a parent, is someone that knows or tries to know what you need and helps give those things to you. Sometimes before you even have to ask it. You're getting food. You're having someone that's generally um, like taking care of you and being there for you emotionally. And you don't have to ask because you're a child. Now, does that mean that every person that doesn't want to speak up and get what they want is acts like a child? No. And are they viewing their romantic interest as a partner? No. Or as a parent? No. But I just this idea of I don't want to teach a person anything is just silly, and it just doesn't make sense for how relationships go. I've never had personally had a relationship where I haven't had to try to understand them or I wanted them to understand me. So I think this person, I think overall with this person, is it self sabotage or self protection? I mean, it could be a mix of both. I think the intention to move slow is good and more self protective, but I think the self sabotage here is just not having good strategy and not having good, like, their ideas of a relationship just seem wonky and unhelpful. They're not gonna get what they want with these beliefs. So in that respect, I think it is going to be self sabotage. But I'd love to be able to have a conversation with this person and see what we could do there. But yeah, that's that. See ya.